Really quick, everybody, this whole video will be timestamped, so if you want to skip the whole thing and just jump straight into a different topic, please check the pinned comment or check the little red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I'd appreciate you guys watching whatever part you'd like to. And if you're sticking around, guys, welcome back to another video, everybody. Welcome back to the weekly UFC news recap. Here's everything you missed. I'm going to give my breakdown and reaction to every piece of news that was announced this week, as well as a small preview for tomorrow's card. We are going to go in complete order, and again, like I said, the whole video is timestamped, so if you want to skip something, you're more than welcome to. So, with the last weekend's card, what is the biggest takeaways? Strickland surprised me. Right off the couch, he can go 5 hard rounds, and he has that dog in him. He really wanted to get that win. He did very well. Another takeaway is Kopylov is a scary individual. Looked great. He's completely on my radar now. Danny Gay's back. He looked fantastic. Still, though, I'm not so sure that he'll be able to get to the top of the division. Regardless, he needed that win, and I'm very happy for him. And Umar Nurmagomedov has looked better than we've seen him before. He got a knockout, looked fantastic. Still, I want to see, he fought a really good opponent, but still, I'd like to see him break into that top 10, and then I'll get a real judge on how good Umar actually is. Regardless, those are the biggest takeaways from last weekend. Moving on to the news of this week. As we all know, Francis Ngannou then got released, and that wasn't very surprising, but it's like a little surprising how much drama there is around it. He then went on Ariel's show, and then we realized that he has like no plans, so hopefully he figures out something, and hopefully he doesn't have to go crawling back to the UFC. Imagine that. He's like, yes, Dana, I'll take whatever you can give me. But it looks like he's leaning towards a boxing match. There's probably a lot of offers for him, but I can see him getting scummed out for some money. It's just, he doesn't seem like he really knows what to do at this point. He's just happy that he's out of the UFC. So if he's happy, and Uncle Chael made a video, and he was like, Francis seems really content. And I was like, yeah, he actually does seem content. So he probably made enough money at this point where he's happy. He's not worried or anything. Like, obviously, because he left the UFC. So, you know what? No matter what happens, I feel like he'll do okay. I just don't think he'll get necessarily the stardom that he thinks that he is. Jones versus Gane then got announced, and this fight was very surprising to me, and it's a very good fight. It's a good comeback fight for Jon Jones. It's a winnable matchup for him. I'm a huge fan of Cyril Gane, so I'm going to be cheering for him in that fight, but still, it worries me. There's so many question marks on Jon Jones right now, and I've made a whole video about it. I was talking about the biggest thing is I'm not going to get excited for this fight because I don't know if Jon Jones is actually going to make it into the cage, so I can't count on that. I will not get excited for that fight until he is in there and Bruce Buffer is saying it's time, or even like maybe until then they touch gloves, because who knows, maybe he'll crawl under the octagon or something, I don't know. Regardless though, it's a really good fight, it's a really good matchup, and it's a wonderful test for Jon Jones at heavyweight. After that fight was announced, Stipe then came out on social media after God knows how long he's been, not hiding, but like he just hasn't been around, he hasn't been on social media, he hasn't been talking about UFC at all. He wants to fight the winner in July, and it looks like that's something the UFC would definitely do. Just imagine like bringing the card to Ohio. I don't know who would win. That would definitely be a bigger fight because you could market, if it's Jon Jones that wins, you could market it as like the greatest heavyweight of all time versus the greatest pound for pound fighter of all time clashing together, and then Jones will probably beat Stipe because of the inactivity and the old age now, and he's obviously not training. He's being a full-time firefighter, which is honestly really good for him, whatever he wants to do, but still, I worry about Stipe. I think both Cyril and Jon Jones would just absolutely demolish him, unless Jon Jones just looks horrible at heavyweight, but I don't think that's going to be the case. It's very interesting, though. I like Stipe, and I'd like to see him fight again. He's one of the most exciting fighters ever. Jon Jones then came out and said that he is, with his new contract, the second highest paid fighter in UFC history, obviously behind Conor McGregor. I didn't think that he was going to get a deal like that. I'm very surprised, but you know what? The UFC and Jon Jones came up with a deal. There's not too much else I can say about that. It's just an interesting stat that in case you missed it. After that is our start to the big fight announcements that we've been getting all week, because there are a lot of amazing announcements. Mokaev is back and he's fighting Filho. That's a really solid fight. I'm really interested to see Mokaev and him coming back. A little bit of a rocky road the last time he had a fight, but still, Hype Train is still alive, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the division. After that, I don't necessarily know how much this is really MMA news, but Brian Ortega and Tracy Cortez split up. She is back on the market. I already know somebody who is in her DMs, so guys, if you want to shoot your shot, now seems like the time. The UFC then hit us with some amazing fights. Both the rematch between Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards, the trilogy, as well as Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev, finally got announced after so long speculating about that fight. It's been in the works for God knows how long. Justin didn't want to fight him, apparently. I don't know how true that is, but still, this is a great matchup. This is going to be guaranteed fireworks. And for Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3, man, that's a good fight. Like, obviously, that's what was going to happen. I question Usman, though, because we did just see him with a cast. I have a feeling he's going to lose this one. I think Leon's going to take over. Usman's getting older. He just got knocked out. We don't know how he's going to return from that. And that last fight wasn't Leon's best performance. He was fighting at elevation, and it was very evident that his cardio was running out. I think Leon Edwards will take this one. And Justin Gaethje versus Fiziev, that's guaranteed fireworks. I have no idea who's going to win that fight. I doubt Fiziev's going to take him down because that's obviously Justin's weakness. I don't know. I'm just excited for that one. It's a great 2 matchups right there. Alex Pereira then came out and gave us some interesting notes on the UFC. If Israel Adesanya isn't ready or it takes a little bit too long for him to get that fight done, the UFC said apparently to Alex Pereira, this is coming from just him, the UFC didn't say anything, that the UFC is going to give Robert Whittaker a title fight against Alex Pereira, and that is fantastic. As a huge Bobby Knuckles fan, let's go, Izzy. Let's take a little bit of a back seat now. Maybe you're sad about your loss. Give Robert Whittaker the title fight. I want to see that, especially because that last fight was so close and so many people thought Robert Whittaker won. Oh, I want to see Robert get the title fight, but I like Alex too. So very interesting matchup. But then again, I would like to see Alex versus Izzy, a rematch in MMA. I don't know. I don't really care. I care a little bit. I like Rob, but both fights are great. Jon Jones then did come out after that and saying he's guaranteeing 2 fights for the fans. Again, that's coming from Jon Jones. I don't trust anything that Jon Jones says, so he might not even make it to this fight. I don't know if he's going to get into controversy. He said that he wants to fight Cyril Gane, then Stipe Miocic. So, solid plan, but again, I don't know if it's going to happen, but it looks like from Jon Jones's plan is to give us at least 2 more fights. Petr Yan then got another fight signed against Marab Announced, and I always pronounce his name wrong. I apologize for that. Marab, I'll just say Marab. Petr Yan versus Marab, and that is a fantastic fight. Petr Yan is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Watching him is an absolute treat. The technical ability man, he has had a little bit of a rough go, Petr Yan, with his last few fights, so this is a must-win for him, and I see this as a really, really nice matchup for him, especially in a Fight Night main event. I think he's going to tear Marab apart, but then again, I said that about Petr Yan's last few fights, so we'll see what happens. Great fight. I love watching Yan fight. Valentina Shevchenko is then announced to be defending her strawweight title against Alexa Grasso, and I think I said strawweight, but I meant flyweight title. She didn't look so good in her last fight, Valentina Shevchenko, but it's tough to say. Is she finally getting older? Is a women's division finally catching up? I could say this is just feeding another girl to the prey, but who knows? It's tough. I would imagine Valentina Shevchenko will win this fight. I'm not going to lie, I'm not too excited for it, but still, it's a solid fight. Neil Magny was also speaking about his upcoming fight this weekend, and after that, he is already looking forward. After Gilbert Burns, he wants Belal Muhammad, and Belal pretty much just laughed at it, saying everybody's saying my name now that he's at the top of the division. It's kind of true, Belal, and I'm saying this as a huge Neil Magny fan. That is a good matchup, though, if Neil happens to get over Gilbert Burns. And by the way, those odds are horrible. Neil Magny is almost a plus 500 underdog. I don't think that fight's going to be that close. I'm picking Gilbert Burns to win, but still, crazy. He has a potential winning this fight. So many people are counting him out. So they could, the UFC, with everyone booked up right now, they could actually end up being interested in doing Belal versus Neil Magny. But of course, we'll have to wait and see what happens this weekend. Another fight after that got added to UFC 285, and that is Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana. And Amanda Nunes is just going to stomp her, feeding another girl to Amanda Nunes. Not too much to say there. It's going to be a typical Amanda Nunes fight. That's pretty much it. Now, after that is some very interesting facts. Mightymouse came out and was talking about his UFC pay, and he ended up earning maximum $20,000 before being champ, and that bumped up to $125K. Obviously, he's doing better in one championship right now, and I gotta say, I've been really, really enjoying that organization. I've been watching it pretty much since Mightymouse went over, actually. It's a fantastic organization. So, if he's happy, I'm glad. Can't wait for his next fight. It's just interesting that he made only $20,000. One of the greatest of all time. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. After that, Davison Figueiredo did announce that he is going to 135 after this fight, and this is very, very worrying for his fight because maybe he's having a horrible weight cut right now, and it might be getting to him, so a little bit worried. I made a whole video talking about that, so I won't really extend past it. It's just Figueiredo, obviously, it opens up a bunch of interesting matchups, and I don't know how he's going to do at 135 because his size and power is so good for the flyweight division. Is that going to transfer over into 135? I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting. No matter what happens, Davison Figueiredo is going to 135 pounds. Then there's really good news for me. The Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission finally reinstated UFC betting. I have been missing it. My mom and I always do a parlay every single weekend, and it's something that I really look forward to. So if you're in Ontario, you couldn't bet for a little while, and now they've reversed that, so we're allowed to bet again. Thank God. The next fight that got announced recently is Raul Rosas Jr., the 18-year-old that just had a fantastic debut against Jay Perrin, I believe it was, is fighting Christian Rodriguez, and I'm not too familiar with that fighter. I recognize the name, but I can't put a face to it. Anyways, it's at UFC 287. It looks like a star in the making. Maybe he can get over this fight. Who knows? It looks like it'll be good so far. Another big fight that just got announced is Bobby Green is coming back against Jared Gordon. Bobby Green with a very quick turnaround after being KO'd and having a brutal war. I don't know how he's going to look. Bobby Green's also getting up there in age, and he just got flatline KO'd. Didn't look too good. But Jared Gordon on a roll, man, just had a fantastic performance against Paddy Pimblett. Came out with a win, maybe, kind of, you know what I mean, but still. it's a good bounce back for Jared Gordon. Sean O'Malley then spoke up a little bit and said that he still wants to fight Henry Cejudo. There were talks about this earlier when we found out that Aljamain Sterling was injured with a bicep injury. Sean then went out and said that he wants to fight Cejudo. Cejudo said yes. Nothing happened after that, but Sean is still talking, and this is very recent. I believe this happened today or last night. Sean O'Malley said that he does want to fight Henry Cejudo for an interim belt. He's sick of waiting, and both fighters want the matchup, so I don't know exactly what the UFC is waiting for. Seems like a great matchup. Both fighters will do it. Come on, UFC. Let's get to it. Then a fight just got announced right before I was recording this video. It's Chris Gutierrez versus Pedro Munhoz. Wow, Chris Gutierrez, fantastic victory over Frankie Edgar recently, and now he's moving on to Pedro Munhoz. This is going to be his first huge test. Pedro Munhoz is that guy that's kind of like if you fight Andre Arlovski in the heavyweight division. If you beat him, you're the real deal. However, if you're not ready for the UFC or yet UFC caliber, Pedro Munhoz is going to stomp you. The guy has lost a lot of fights recently, but still, he is a fantastic fighter, Pedro Munhoz. You cannot count him out. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that fight brings for Chris Gutierrez. And that's all the news for this week. Now, I do want to give a little bit of a preview for this weekend and how fighters are looking at the weigh-ins, because the weigh-ins, every fighter made weight except for the one fighter who's not fighting, who is the backup for the main event, that is Anthony Smith. He looked absolutely horrible. He looked out of shape, obviously not motivated to get this title fight. He didn't think he was fighting at all. So thank God he's not fighting, or hopefully nothing happens, because Anthony Smith does not look good right now. But speaking of fighters that don't look good, Figueiredo doesn't look good. His weight cut is really getting to him, but this isn't really something new. He doesn't look good. I'm a little bit worried for him, and this is coming from a Figueiredo fan. I want him to win against Brandon Moreno. I'm going to be cheering for him. I just think he's going to lose this one, and he does not look good. However, somebody who does look fantastic is Glover. Glover, in his old age, is looking great. He's looking shredded. He's flexing on the scale. You can see how big his biceps are. He looks absolutely fantastic. I like the way he's looking right now. Let's just see if his chin holds up. I don't know. At some point, Father Time's going to come in there, but I don't know if it's going to be this fight, because Glover, he does look really, really good. And with that being said, all I have for you is to enjoy the fights, guys. This is your weekly UFC news recap. This is going to be every single Friday. We're going to recap the last card, give you all the UFC news throughout the week, and then we're going to give you a little bit of a preview. This is a brand new series on the channel, guys. So if you enjoyed it, please consider hitting the like button. It would help the channel a ton, and subscribe if you're brand new. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Take care.